In the United States, we are suffering from a deterioration in marriage and childbearing.
Tell us why.
For nearly 100 years, the proportion of households headed by married couples has declined, and so has the birth rate.
Tell us why.
The marriages and birth rates of our church members are much more positive, but they have also declined significantly.
Come on, is he going to tell us why?
It is vital that Latter-day Saints do not lose their understanding of the purpose of marriage and the value of children. That is the future for which we strive.
He's not going to tell us why, is he?
Exaltation is a family affair, President Nelson has taught us. Quote, only through the saving ordinances of the gospel of Jesus Christ can families be exalted. End of quote.
He's not going to talk about feminism, is he?
The national declines in marriage and childbearing are understandable for historic reasons.
What?
But Latter-day Saint values and practices should improve, not follow those trends.
Are you kidding me?
In my boyhood, 70 years ago...
Okay, stop. That's all you say? The cause for lower birth rates, fewer marriages, more children being born out of wedlock, all you say is that it's understandable for historic reasons? Go into detail on that. What does that even mean? Explain to normal people who do not follow history, do not pay attention to politics, explain to the normal people at General Conference what exactly is causing the problem. Explain to everybody how feminism is causing all these problems. But no, they're afraid to talk about that. They're afraid to talk about how the world says that the future is female, that masculinity is toxic, that patriarchy is evil. They're afraid to talk about how the world tells women to place career, education, travel, and hobbies above dating and marriage. They're afraid to talk about how the world tells women that family life and home life is oppressive. The world is telling women to undermine the divine family order, and the church is too afraid to talk about it. We had 2 conference talks based on the Family Proclamation, and not one of them talked about this. They never talk about how the world tells women to undermine the family. They never talk about feminism. And until they do, this problem is only going to get worse. There's going to be fewer births, there's going to be more divorces, fewer marriages to begin with. It's going to get worse. You cannot expect problems to go away unless you address the cause of these problems. And the cause of these problems is that the women in our church are becoming more secular. They're becoming more worldly, more materialistic. They do not value family. They do not value men. They do not value marriage. They may say they do, but their actions prove otherwise. And this may sound ugly, but church leadership needs to start calling this out. It's not the men's fault. Every guy I know wants to get married and have a family. Every guy I know is trying to date. It's not the same with the women. Women are not interested in dating. They're not interested in marriage. It's that simple.
On Tinder, women are, they like, swipe right. They like the profiles of only 4% of the men that they see on the app. Whereas for men, when they see female profiles, they swipe right or like more than 60%. That's 60% of the profiles they see.
So that's really worth concentrating on, because that's a great example of hypergamy.
So I remember reading how guys would just swipe right on every single woman, no matter what.
Yeah. I would actually judge them one by one. I can't bring myself to do the bulk.
What? Bumble came around. Bumble requires women to message first. And the problem was because on every other dating app, women have 76,000 messages and men have 0. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, eventually guys just started saying, I'm done with this. It's too much work. I don't want to do it.
Well, and OkCupid has, from what I know, they actually do some of the best data analysis of the information that they have. And I remember listening to one of their analysts talk about how women can be less attractive. Like, instead of it being like, people about the same attract level pair up, the app favor basically uglier women. Like, men will compromise on the app in a way that they wouldn't in person.
Wow.
Which is fascinating.
Well, it's because the competition is so high.
What is it with all these loser guys settling for 5s and 6s? Hi, you down to chill tonight? Maybe. What does it depend on? How tall you are? Bruh. Have you noticed this? Decent looking guys competing for average looking girls on Tinder. OkCupid discovered that women found 80% of men to be less than average in attractiveness. On Tinder, the bottom 80% of men in terms of attractiveness are competing for the bottom 22% of women, and the top 78% of women are competing for the top 20% of men. Another study found that men in their 20s are almost twice as likely as women to commit to someone they're not in love with, and in some cases not even attracted to. In other words, dudes be thirsty as fuck and standards are slipping.
So you can just stop and think about it, and many of you experience this all the time, whether it's on Tinder or whether it's on Mutual, which is an LDS dating app, or others, that this has completely changed the dynamic of dating. But here's the data. Women swipe right, say yes, they're interested in knowing more about you. They swipe right on 4.5% of men's profiles. 4.5%. Men, they swipe right on 60% of women's profiles. What does that tell you right off the bat? What is the competition level for the women? What competition level is there for them going after those 4.5%? Because what they're saying is 95.5% of the men I have no interest in.
This explains both the national and the church trends we're seeing. Lower birth rates, lower marriage rates, more divorces, and it's all because women today have been spoiled. You saw the data for yourselves. They won't give 95% of men a chance. And we're not even talking about a first date. We're talking about swiping up to initiate a texting conversation, right? Women may say they're interested in dating. They may say they're interested in marriage. They may say they want a husband and kids really bad, but they really don't. Their actions prove otherwise. They're going to chase their career and education, and then maybe if they find a 5% guy, a top 5% guy, then they'll sell themselves to him. But if that doesn't happen, they're going to hold out as long as possible, right up until the age of 30, or about that range. Women have basically turned dating into prostitution. They have turned marriage into prostitution. I'm sorry, but the majority of women in the church today do not care about the plan of salvation. Why do you think the church eliminated certain things from the temple? Why do you think women no longer veil their faces? Why do you think that when we're studying Genesis together in the temple, why do you think they cut out the part where Eve is told to obey Adam? It's because we have a bunch of bratty, brainwashed women who care more about being strong, empowered feminists than being faithful Latter-day Saints. That's the ugly truth, and the church will not talk about it. They will never criticize women or talk about feminism. So it is up to people like us to talk about it. We need to force a conversation to happen within the church about feminism. People need to realize that feminism is killing the church. And if you would like to help me force this conversation, then subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it with others, and leave a comment down below. Let's get the conversation rolling.